Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 4, text 17. Karma and understand. Therefore one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Purport. If one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinctions between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. One has to apply himself to such an analysis of action, reaction, and perverted actions because it is a very difficult subject matter. To understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme. That is, one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. The entire Bhagavad Gita is directed towards this conclusion. Any other conclusions against this consciousness and its attendant actions are vikarmas, or prohibited actions. To understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness and learn the secret from them. This is as good as learning from the Lord directly. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmana, akarmanascha bodhavyam kahana karmano gati. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Forbidden action. So, Krishna is giving us here in this verse a advice. One should know the difference between action, inaction, and reaction that comes from forbidden activities. One should understand the intricacies of action. And in the next verse, he gets directly into what one should see, how one should see. Karmanya karma yak pashyad karmani cha karmaya sabudhiman manusheshu sayukta kritsna karma krit. One who sees action and inaction in action and action and inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. Purport. A person acting in Krishna consciousness is naturally free from the bonds of karma. His activities are all performed for Krishna, and therefore he does not enjoy or suffer any of the results of work. Consequently, he is intelligent in human society, even though he is engaged in all sorts of activities for Krishna. Akarma means without reaction to work. In the previous verse, Krishna was stating that karma, akarma, and vikarma, these are three things. Karma means work which is according to prescribed regulative principle in the Veda or otherwise, which is activity which is not forbidden action, but activity which is either going to cause one to remain in his condition and advance, or to go to the heavenly planets, or something like that. Karma, normal work. Activity which is not causing sinful reaction, and which is not freeing one from the material world either. Karma. Vikarma, this word vi expands the meaning of a word. So vikarma means very bad activity. Activity which causes one to degrade into this material world further and further. How will one degrade? Well, one can degrade first of all into the lower species of life, and that is the greatest fear. Because when one degrades into the lower species of life, he loses the opportunity to become Krishna conscious in the human form, and he falls back down into lower species, and not very good. This is not very good. Degradation takes place and destruction takes place. Not good at all. Therefore, vikarma is to be avoided like anything. We should avoid this vikarma, because by this vikarma we lose our grand opportunity of the human form of life. Manusham durlabha janma. It's very, very rare, this human form of life. And because it is so rare, we must take great advantage of it. It's arthadam, full of meaning, this human form of life. Therefore, we have a responsibility to ourselves. Today we've been talking a lot about responsibility, how the devotee should take responsibility. Responsibility for Krishna consciousness, responsibility for the project, but above all, responsibility to themselves. Besides all other responsibilities, this is number one responsibility. That I have to save me. That means I take my head and put it under the lotus feet of the spiritual master and Krishna. And I follow their instruction. That is what's best for me. And therefore I do like that. All the time. That way, the living entity can save himself. So, number one is to take care of you. Me. The I. The real I. The soul. So, once one is actually fixed in that understanding, artadam, how valuable the human form of life is, adruvam, very rare, he then knows not to perform vikarma. He never performs an activity which will cause him to degrade or lose the opportunity to surrender to Krishna. Very carefully avoids those activities, vikarmas. He may or may not take up karma. If somebody really understands the valuable nature of the human form of life, he won't even take up karma. No. He will only take up akarma, activities which give no reaction. Yeah. Here Prabhupada goes on. The impersonalist ceases fruitive activities out of fear, so that the resultant action may not be a stumbling block on the path of self-realization. The impersonalist, he also gives up all reactions. He does the activities which bring reactions, because he's afraid of reactions, because he knows that reactions bring about entanglement in the material world, and he's very afraid of that. He's very afraid of that. Whereas a karmi, meaning one who acts within the bondage of karma, likes the idea that reactions come. For him, reactions are the fruit of his work. Good reactions. He doesn't like it, of course, when bad reactions come. But he never says, let no reactions come. He says, no, let the reactions come. But I want the good ones. Whereas the impersonalist, he has more understanding. And he will say, no, I don't want any reaction, good or bad. Therefore, some of these impersonalists are very strict and austere. They do not engage in any sense gratification. They live very, very strictly, austerely by the banks of a river. They're engaged in reading the Shastra, and they're dry like crackers. Because there's no juice there in that. It's just all bunches of mental speculation. So, but still, they don't become entangled in the material world in the same way. They may be entangled in the concept they want to become God. That's very much entanglement. Last snare of Maya. But generally they don't wish to be entangled in good or bad results. They put both good and bad results far behind them. Because they are not wishing to get entangled in good or bad reactions. They don't want anything to do with any of these reactions whatsoever. Now a devotee, a personalist, knows rightly his position as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore he engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Because everything is done for Krishna, he enjoys only transcendental happiness in the discharge of his service. Those who are engaged in this process are known to be without desire for personal sense gratification. The sense of eternal servitorship to Krishna makes one immune to all sorts of reactionary elements of work. Reactionary elements of work are there. Immunity is there to a devotee who actually is engaged in Krishna's loving service. So, Krishna and his devotees are all on the platform of a karma. Whatever work is done never binds to the material world, because it is only done in Krishna consciousness. And work done in Krishna consciousness can never bind one to the material world. Now, we have here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mukti Bhukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashanta Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ataeva Shanta. Liberation, mukti, bhukti, sense gratification, siddhi. Looking for yogic perfection, mystic power. Mukti, bhukti, siddhi, kami. Kami means one who desires. Kama is the noun, and kami is that person who wants that thing. Yoga, yogi, karma, karmi. Kama, kami. That person who's got desire. But the Krishna Bhakta is nishkam. Nishkami. No desire. One who has no desire to fulfill of the material variety. Does that mean he is void of all desires? Oh no. He's got plenty of desires. But all those desires are desires for Krishna. He wants Krishna. And he only wants Krishna. He wants Krishna. He wants Krishna consciousness. He wants to surrender to Krishna. He wants to love Krishna. And he wants to give Krishna to others. He has many desires. He wants Krishna and relationship with Krishna. And within that relationship, there's so many desires. And he also wishes to have so much engagement in Krishna's service. He wants to have engagement in Krishna's service. Therefore, this whole Krishna consciousness movement is based on the desire of the Supreme Lord that you and me, we shall all become Krishna conscious. If Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't have that desire, we would not be here today. All the great devotees who followed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were embodying his desire. They knew the internal desire of the Lord. And because they knew the internal desire of the Lord, they were able to overcome the stringent obstacles, the strong, heavy obstacles the material nature puts forward to stop every preaching effort. Because they knew Krishna, Lord Chaitanya wanted it, therefore I shall try and do no matter what. And the whole disciplic succession from that time is based on that principle of simply trying to fulfill the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he had desire. And Srila Prabhupada, understanding that desire from his spiritual master, knew, I've got to bring the Krishna consciousness movement to the people of this world. Especially to the Western world, as his spiritual master ordered. And he was filled with desire. Desire for getting places for people to come and join. Desire for building big temples and glorifying Krishna so hundreds of thousands of people would come, as they are presently doing. Desire to print books in all the languages of the world and make a belt of Krishna consciousness around the world. Desire. So many desires. Desires for farms. Desires for varnashram. Desires for developing knowledge in all of the living entities. Desires to have kirtan and distribute prasadam all over the world. These are desire. Transcendental desires. And there's nothing material whatsoever in that. No material contamination whatsoever. These desires are fully spiritual. Because they all simply are things which please Krishna. Prabhupada simply wanted all kinds of things which simply pleased Krishna. That's all. His desire was whatever Krishna wanted. Whatever Krishna wanted, he did. And that's why Prabhupada was so successful in spreading in such a short period of time this Krishna consciousness all over the world. And because his desire was so strong, he could inject that desire in the hearts of others, who then took up that desire and spread this Krishna consciousness under Prabhupada's order and protection. It's a question of desire. When you've got desire, you can injected in the hearts of others. So we are praying for a little bit of Prabhupada's mercy to inject into your hearts that which he has injected into our hearts by his potency. We hope that some even reflection, if even a reflection of that desire of Srila Prabhupada can manifest in all of you, then we are thinking our lives are successful. And that is action, real action. Anything else is inaction on the spiritual platform. On the spiritual platform, action means to follow the instruction of the spiritual master, and inaction means to do anything else. Even though one may be very busy, running here, running there, doing this, doing that, but if it's not under the order of the spiritual master, then it is simply inaction, inactivity, waste of time. The birds and the bugs, they're also zooming here and there and going doing that and this. But from the spiritual point of view, we consider that to be completely inactivity. No great value in all those things. So a devotee, he acts for Krishna's service. That's all. And everything else for him is inactivity, and he's not interested in going further than that. Action and inaction off the spiritual platform. On the material platform, inactivity is only when you act in Krishna's service. And activity is that which brings material reaction. Action and reaction. Reaction coming, action coming. In this way, we should avoid this material world because it is entangling. And that's what Krishna says too. Next verse, very nice verse where Krishna is telling us what we should do now. Yasya sarve samarambha kama sankalpa vajito gyanhagni dugdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. One is understood to be in full knowledge whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. Purport. Only a person in full knowledge can understand the activities of a person in Krishna consciousness. Vaishnavara kriyamudra navige bujai. Factually, you cannot understand the activities of an advanced Vaishnava. Even though one may be very intelligent, and even if he thinks everything is very perfectly clear and understandable, one cannot understand the activities of a pure Vaishnava because he's only acting for Krishna. That is something which is a very difficult thing to understand. The pure devotees may sometimes say something, do something which may not be understandable because they are doing it in Krishna's service. For them, it is simply for Krishna. And when it is just like that, then they may act in a way which you don't understand. If a devotee of the Lord is in ecstasy, perhaps even just saying things which nobody understands, unmada, some madness is manifesting. Of course, that is Mahabhava symptom. But anyway, then who can understand? Unless you also have that feeling, you'll not be able to understand it. When the gopis get together in feelings of insanity because of absence from Krishna, and nobody understands it. They don't even understand it because they are too much absorbed in thoughts of the loss of Krishna. Therefore, it is stated that we should not read about or hear about these intimate pastimes until we get on the platform of being able to understand by our advancement. Sometimes the class of man known as Prakrita Sahajya think that they can jump into the understanding of Krishna, his pastimes, his associates. But they don't understand the mood of these associates. They don't understand the mood. They don't understand the desires. They don't understand the words. They don't understand the love. Therefore, for them, they have no ability to enter into these pastimes. Therefore, it is said they should avoid them. One should not jump to the 10th canto. We should go through the other cantos systematically, become purified, and then, from the right source, Vikriditam, Brajubarubi, Adam, Vishnu, Shadanvita, Nashudayad, Varnam, Yatasa. One should only hear about the pastimes of Krishna from the lips of a self-realized soul who is understanding these things. Otherwise, these things will cause trouble in one's spiritual life. But when these things are heard, pastimes of Krishna, from such a proper authority, they are sufficient to wipe out the kama within the heart. The lusty desires within the heart may be dissipated by such hearing. Therefore, it was recommended long time ago by Prabhupada. I remember we were in South Africa, and he had me look up this verse. This Vikriditam Brajubadubi. And he had me read this verse to somebody as the way to cure lusty desires in the heart. To hear the pastime of Krishna with his associates from proper authority. Told him to go read the Krishna book and listen carefully. So, these words act when they come from the proper source. But if they don't, then they act like poison. If a person filled with lusty desires himself speaks about Krishna and his pastimes, then the pastimes of Krishna become covered. They cannot become contaminated. They are pure, but they become covered by the lusty desire of the person. Thus, instead of receiving Krishna, one receives some lusty idea. And that turns the whole of Krishna consciousness into something very bad. Sarpo pistam paya. You should be very careful. It is like milk touched by the lips of the serpent. Vaishnava Mukod Girnam Harikatamritam. One should avoid hearing the pastimes of Krishna from a Vaishnava, or one who is not fixed in this knowledge that he is the eternal servitor of the Supreme, that he is actually Krishna's eternal slave, that Krishna may do with him as he likes, whenever he likes. Because the person in Krishna consciousness is devoid of all kinds of sense gratificatory propensities, it is to be understood that he has burned up the reactions of his work by perfect knowledge of his constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is actually learned who has attained to such perfection of knowledge. Development of this knowledge of eternal servitorship to the Lord is compared to fire. Such a fire, once kindled, can burn up all kinds of reactions to work. So there may be reactions. We may experience reactions that come to us not only from this lifetime, but from hundreds or thousands of lifetimes previously. We may not even be aware. The reaction that we are receiving, the entanglement, no. The situation which we may now be entangled in something like that, can be the product of many different mixtures of entangling situations in the past, which have now come to fruition. You've got the bija, the seed of sinful reaction. When one actually experiences desire. I want this. I have this desire. I wish to enjoy. When that happens, then comes the platform of growth of the seed. It starts to come to the point where one is acting. He acts on it. He does it. Then the reaction is developing and is about to manifest. And then it is manifested fully, and we are already living in it. That's the prarabdha stage. For right now, for instance, everybody can understand prarabdha. You were born with a body. The body has, for instance, bad eyes or good eyes, or bad teeth or good teeth, or bad kidneys or good kidneys, or whatever. This is prarabdha. It's already given by birth. You're stuck with it. Can't do anything about it. Can't change it. You simply suffer with it. That's all. Prarabdha. Already manifested sinful reaction. Simply suffer. That's all. No way around it. But reactions are also sometimes just manifesting on us. Just coming and coming. We see them coming. It's like we see this sinful reaction coming after us. Like Indra saw this tubercular woman chasing him, coughing blood out of her mouth, skinny and foul breath smelling like dead fish. Chasing him everywhere for the killing of a brahmana. Going, Indra, Indra, where are you going? He's running like mad. That's a good example of sinful reaction coming. Personified. And reactions, the action which brings reaction, that is also there. That we act in such a way that it will create reactions in the future. Also, very dangerous stage. When the desire is there, and one may be thinking, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And the senses say, you should. And the mind says, you should. And the intelligence says, oh, no. But because the mind and the senses are too strong, the weak, conditioned soul, who normally would be considered wise, has become covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, and he falls down. And even though he shouldn't, he does anyway. And the reaction is starting to develop. It is developing and just waiting for the day to manifest. Horrible. This is what we are all living with. Bija. Piles of desire seeds in the heart. And a seed can stay in that form for a long time. You can bring seeds, for instance. Sometimes they bring from India some seeds. They may be a year old even. If the seeds have been kept nicely, you put them in the ground, they will grow. What's the way to get rid of the seeds? Fry them. Fry them up good. Then they will never grow, because they're fried. You have to cook those seeds. Fry them to a crisp. Those desire seeds in the heart have to be gotten rid of that way. Therefore, one should place himself in the fire of devotional service and cook those seeds in the heart. In that fire of devotional service, we just cook them up. But as soon as we get ourselves out of the fire of devotional service, then immediately those seeds begin to gnaw at our consciousness. We want. Screaming in the heart, we want. And then one thinks, no. And the senses say, yes. And the fight is on. One has to burn up all those desire seeds in the heart and they should never manifest again. That is the platform of real Krishna consciousness. When one is putam, madbhavam agataha, freed from the material platform. Putam, purified. Purified, madbhavam. Actually, that's the Sanskrit way of saying Krishna consciousness. Madbhavam. That's how you say Krishna consciousness in Sanskrit. Madbhavam. Krishna's consciousness. Krishna bhavana samstha. That's the way we say it in Hindi. Yeah. So, bhavam, madbhavam, Krishna consciousness. Yeah. That one attains the consciousness of Krishna. Krishna calls it my consciousness. He says, you develop the same consciousness as me. Of course, quantitatively very small. But you're developing Krishna's consciousness. That's what Krishna consciousness means. Because you are a part of Krishna anyway, and that is your nature. So to develop Krishna consciousness means to realize Krishna. Bhutam madbhavam agataha. Many, many great sages in the past, by knowledge, austerity, bhavo jnana tapasa, engaging properly in the work of devotional service, they've become purified. So you can too. That's what Krishna is saying. Many in the past, vitaraga bhaya krodha, manmaya mam upashraya, many, many persons in the past have become freed from attachment, fear and anger. Raga bhaya krodha. There are so many bad qualities: kama, krodh, lobh, matsarya, mada, moha, vipralipsa. Piles of bad qualities. You can list them off one after another. Kam, krodh, lobh, lust, anger, greed, mada, madness, moha, illusion, matsarya, enviousness, vipralipsa, simply making mistake after mistake. And Krishna picks out three important ones here: raga, bhaya, and krodha. And actually, if one really investigates the entanglement of the material world carefully, he will see that these three things are very deep attachments right down at the bottom in the root. The raga. Raga means attachment. So, we are attached to everything. Attached to fame, attached to profit, attached to distinction. Attached to position, attached to place, attached to circumstances, attached to this body. That's the worst of all. We are attached to this body. We're really attached to this body. Nobody wants to give up his body. No. The body is the source of pleasure. And everybody's very attached to it. And similarly for the materialist, the home, the family, the society, the friendship, the love. Raga. Bhaya. Fear that I'm going to lose this. Fear that somebody will come and take it away. Fear that I won't be getting sense gratification. Fear that my position will be destroyed. What is the real fear we should have? I think you know. The greatest fear. What is the greatest fear? The fear of losing Krishna. The fear of falling into Maya. That is the greatest fear. For the Vaishnava, there's no greater fear than that. To be somewhere without service to Krishna. For the very advanced Vaishnava, there's no place where that is. Na prayana, Narayana parak sarve nakutascha bibyati svarga pavaga narakeshu apituyata darshanam. When Mars Chitraketu was cursed by goddess Parvati after flying in his airplane and just dropping a little joke about Lord Shiva, because he and Lord Shiva were in the exact same position. Actually, great devotees of the Lord who were surrounded by women, and they were laughing about it because it didn't make any sense. So goddess Parvati took it in the wrong way and cursed him to become a demon. Therefore he became Vritrasura in the Bhagavatam. So, now, Lord Shiva, because Mars Chitraketu didn't say anything, he just accepted it. He thought it was the Lord's mercy. The Lord arranged it for him like that, so he accepted it. That goddess Parvati shall curse him, all right, he shall be cursed. He shall become a demon, and then he shall go back home, back to Godhead. Lord Shiva told goddess Parvati, you should not have done like that. You have done wrong. Just see, he did not even object when you cursed him. Although he could have counter-cursed you and neutralized it. But he didn't even do that. Didn't even try. Why? Narayana parasarve. Such personalities who have Narayana, see Narayana everywhere, are transcendentally situated, are never in illusion. For such persons, whether they go to the heavenly planets or they go to the hellish planets, it's all the same. Because they only are interested in Krishna. Therefore, api tulyata darshanam. They see everything equally. Yeah. Like the Pandita. Samalostrashma darshanam. He sees even the pebbles, the stone, the clod of earth or gold. All is the same. The Krishna conscious person, of course, makes distinction because he knows you can grow food in the earth and you will use the gold to make palaces for Krishna's service. But whether that's there or not there is not his point. He will serve Krishna anyway. And whether he goes to the heavenly planets, Svarga, or Pavaga, Pavaga refers to this earthly planet. Pavaga, Parishram, hard work. Hard work. Everybody's just working hard. Pavaga. In Sanskrit, the line of letters in the alphabet, they are there's the Chavagas and the Pavagas, like this. So Pavaga, ma. That's the Sanskrit alphabet there. The alphabet is starting off with the vowels, and then there are the consonants one after another. So this is the Pavaga line. So this word Pavaga refers to the earthly planet which is filled with material entanglements. So it is analyzed by the Acharyas, Parishram. Plenty of hard work which causes sweat and faint or foam. Foaming of the mouth, like the horse foaming in the mouth after working hard. There is also the bafflement or bewilderment that comes of the living entity in the material world, and bhaya or fear, great fear, which is constantly causing everybody to act in all different ways. And mrityu, death. Marchaloka Vashanti, you come here to this earth planet and enjoy death. Wonderful, isn't it? Marchaloka, the place where death takes place a lot. It takes place a lot. You can die here a lot. It's a great place, earth. You can come, take birth, and die again, and take birth, and die again, and take birth, and die again. Quickly, one changes his bodies on this earth planet. That's the whole purpose of the earth planet. To give a quick way to change bodies, enjoy in the material world, change bodies again, enjoy in the material world and change bodies again, and enjoy in the material world and change bodies again. And all the time, enjoy, suffer, enjoy, suffer, enjoy, suffer, 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 enjoy, enjoy, suffer, suffer, enjoy. Birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. Die, die, die. Mrityu. So, Janma Mrityu Jaravyadi Dukkha Doshana Darshanam. Krishna says one should be aware of these four miseries of life and give up attachment to this material existence. And even though we've heard it again and again, a million times we've heard it, yes, Janma Mrityu Jaravyadi. Everybody knows that verse. Dukkha Doshana Darshanam. Right? Everybody knows, right? Birth, death, old age, and disease. Yes. Very great miseries. Yes. But you ask somebody when he's not paying much attention, you think you'll become old? And he goes, yeah, I suppose. He doesn't keep that vision in mind. This body's going to get old and rotten and die and drop. One thinks, yes, it'll go on forever this way. For if one actually thought this way, he would give up the attachments to Maya. Of course, some think, well, now I am young. It is not possible. Later on, I'll get older, and then I'll be forced to surrender to Krishna. Most people think like that. That after failing miserably at trying to be the enjoyer, then I'll finally understand. And at the fag end of my life, I'll surrender to Krishna. But Prahlad Maharaj said, don't count on it. There are plenty of old people who don't surrender to Krishna. Just being at the fag end of your life doesn't mean anything. Plenty of old people, plenty attached. In fact, the older you get, the more attached you get. And the harder it is to surrender to Krishna. Not easier, harder. Therefore, one has to advance as much as possible in the very beginning. Because when he starts that process of advancing more and more, then it just gets better and better. But when one has to start in older age, it's extremely hard. Extremely hard. Impossible. For some old people, very, very hard to surrender to Krishna. Because they're so fixed in their ways. Even I heard that when you're 35, you're already fixed in your ways. Therefore, it's good to learn young, so that one can actually be on the proper standard before the circuits get burned in the brain, which cause one to become fixed and immovable. After a certain time, nobody changes. And he doesn't even see why he should change. He's completely accepted. Yes, this is it. That's it. Burned in. So let us take up this youthful existence, if we have it, and just try to advance more and more in Krishna consciousness, and surrender and give up the false ego completely. Very good advice and very hard to do. Because the false ego is really the whole thing that we're attached to. So let's try hard. Let's try and really make a good effort at it. And we'll please not only ourselves, but we'll please Spiritual Master and Krishna. And when they are satisfied with us and recognized, then there's all success in life. All right, Hare Krishna.